how much do you charge for X? That is the usual question that a lot of us receive when people hit us up on the DM, or when they pick up the phone to call, or when they send the email. It's just a question, the age-old question. How much do you charge for wedding photography? How much to plan a wedding? How much does it cost to change a carpet? How much do your cakes cost? It's the typical thing. And now there's a reason why this is sort of the natural or the default question that our clients ask, or our potential customers ask. And that's because, first of all, they have a lack of expertise in what it is that we do. So the average person who calls up to ask for your wedding photography or for your wedding planning services, typically the person is not a photographer or a wedding planner, and so they lack some some knowledge or finesse with how things roll. So, or what they're going to do is to go to the default and just ask how much, because quite frankly, they don't know what other question to ask. Another thing is that one thing that is common to all our commercial experiences, whether you bought a car or a house or or a phone, is the common point of all our commercial interactions seems to be money anyway. So that is going to be naturally the default that anybody is going to fall to, because that seems to be the universal. So because of these reasons and a host of other reasons, that's the reason why people won't get in touch with you wherever they reach out. That's the reason why that's going to be pretty much in 80 or 90% of the cases, that's going to be the first thing that you get. How much for wedding photography, or how much to plan the wedding, or how much to change a tap in my house, or whatever it is. Now, there are a host of possible answers that you can give to this question. Now, the usual answer, okay, let me not say the usual, because I don't see a lot of people do it, but I've seen some people do it, and I think it's the strangest answer, is some people just shoot back with a price sheet. So you call up, someone calls up and says, how much to plan my wedding, or how much to shoot my wedding, how much to do the wedding video. And some people say, give me a moment. Is this your WhatsApp number? The person confirms and says yes, and then they say, okay, I will send you a price sheet, and then we can continue the conversation from there. And then the other person says, thank you very much, and then you guys end the call, and then you send over the price sheet. Now, that is one response. I don't really think is the best, because when you send over a price sheet, there's really nothing for the person to go off of to make a decision, because they haven't been able to gauge your experience, your expertise, your passion, what else, the strength of your art, your technical ability. You've just sent over a price sheet, and then all that's going to have is package A, package B, package C, or gold and silver and platinum packages, and basically they'll just have your prices there, and they'll be comparing them to another photographer or another planner or another insurance person's figures, with nothing else to distinguish by. And since you've already handed over the ball, you've gotten off the phone and you've switched over to WhatsApp or email, you're not going to be able to get that opportunity to distinguish yourself again in most cases, because the information that they needed was the price, also they thought. You've sent it over, and the average person probably won't answer your phone calls after that. They would prefer to keep it on that whole email or voicemail level. So I don't think the price sheet response is the best, but it is some that people resort to because it's comforting. You shield yourself. You don't have to get into any of those, the uncomfortable situations of, trying to haggle, and then you feel like you're undervaluing yourself because you're a big shot photographer, and so here you are haggling like you're selling a goosey in the market. And so the price sheet response seems to be a good shield for all of that. Now, another response that I have seen, or rather that I have heard, and I don't think is really a good one, is the direct quote response. So somebody calls up and says, how much to plan the wedding? And you say 1.5 million. And the person says, okay, thank you very much. And then they cut the phone, and then that's it. And I don't think that's a good response for a number of reasons. Number one, also because you've given them exactly what they asked for, which was a price, and they're now going to take that figure and compare it against other people without any direct, without any helpful context on which they can make a decision. So you just say 1.5M, and so they're going to compare it against somebody else who charges 800K, but they're not going to be able to, there's going to be no fine print that comes with those figures in these cases. To show that this is the quality of service that you're offering, or these are years of experience, or what else, or these are the things that you're going to offer in exchange for the 1.5. Because let's face it, if somebody says 1.5 flat, another person says 800, but the 1.5, for instance, comes with I don't know, let's say 20 ushers and 20 ushers and one free plate of small chops for all tables up to 100 tables. If you run the math, you might find that 1.5 actually is cheaper than going with the 800K and then having to source the other things, the ushers and the small chops by yourself. So, but you're not going to be able to get that chance to distinguish and to make a sale if you just give the direct quote. So I also don't think that is a good response for someone to say how much and then you just say 1.5. So that's not a good quote. Now, another more sophisticated option, and that's one that I use a lot, is where you give a band. So you do give some figures, because let's face it, when people call up to say how much, they really are looking for some numbers, and if you try to fudge it, then it looks it sounds kind of dodgy. So you're better off just trying to put some figures out anyway to give a realistic band, and then you invite them into more conversation so that you can give a more specific quote. So use your own words in this. Use your own words basically, but I usually would say something like, it depends. It could cost anything between 300,000 to 850,000, depending on the number of days and what else it is that you want. Whether you want one book or two, the sizes of the book, the number of frames, things like that. So in order to give you a specific quote, I would have to ask you a couple of questions so I can give you something that is tailor-made to you. So that gives us the permission rather to enter into a conversation, and then we're going to be able to ask more fine-tuned questions so that we can get all the information that we need to deliver a quote. And then it also gives us room to engage in conversation and also show off our expertise and our passion and all the other stuff that we hope as wedding practitioners is going to win our clients over so that they want to work with us. So the price band is something that you can do, and this works equally well whether it's in person over the phone or whether it's through DMs or email. So if somebody sends you a DM, the approach is the same. How much is it going to cost for you to MC my wedding? Full stop. And then you respond. That depends. It could cost anything between 800,000 and 1.6, depending on where it is that you want me to travel to, how many days it is going to be, and okay, well, I'm not an MC, so I don't know what other conditions normally run with their service. So, where was I? Okay, I'm not aware. I don't know what kind of conditions run with their service, but so that's basically where you put it in, and then they know that okay, they're going to need to have another conversation, more conversations with you. Another thing, and then it will also depend on whether you're looking for an MC or a master of ceremonies or a comedian. Because I understand that for some of them, the fee is different. So if you're looking for someone who is much more of a comedian, then this is what it's going to cost. But if it's going to be a straightforward compare situation, MC thing, then it's going to cost something else. Now, I don't know if those are the actual charges that they charge. 800 to 1.6. I hope you guys understand that a lot of times when I discuss figures over here on the podcast, I'm just throwing out numbers because I'm a photographer, so I know how much photographers and videographers charge. But for everybody else, I'm just making up figures, so don't take me to task on that. So where was I? So the price band, and so that is one option. I use it. It works pretty well. So it gives them the information that they need, sort of, and it gives you room to engage them in a conversation. Now, I had an experience today that just reminded me that there is another option, and that is to start with clarifying questions out of the gate. Some people don't respond with a band but start off with clarifying questions immediately. They pretty much just go straight into the conversation so that they have all the information that they need to give a quote. So this is something that you have to do with some expertise, because if you just go straight into clarifying questions, some people feel like they're being interrogated. So maybe if you're one of those people who likes to go straight into the clarifying questions mode, maybe you shoot 2 or 3 questions and then you say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not avoiding. I'm just asking you these questions because there are lots of factors that I need to take into account before I tell you how much it is we charge to plan a wedding. And so that's the reason why I'm asking you all these questions. Don't be offended, or should I continue, or whatever it is, your own verbiage, depending on your own style." So okay, yeah. So let's run with that scenario. Let's say you're a wedding planner and somebody says, "How much is it to plan a wedding?" Full stop. Now, some people are not going to do the price band thing, which is what I would do. So let's say you're more of the clarifying questions person. So if somebody calls up and says, "How much?" Your next question might be, "How many guests are you expecting?" And then they say, "Is it going to be Abuja or Lagos?" And then they respond, let's see what else. Have you booked have you booked the hall? And then they respond. So it's probably at this point that you're going to say, "Sorry if it looks like I'm interrogating you. The reason why I'm asking is because I can't give you an outright quote. I need to know a lot of factors before I give you a quote for how much it is to plan the wedding." And if the other person is not being unrealistic or irrational, he or she is going to say, "Okay, yeah, sure, that's no problem. I understand. What other questions do you have?" And then you continue, being able to engage them in the conversation. So, yeah, pretty much. I think that's all I wanted to cover today, just to give you guys an idea of how to respond to the "how much do you charge" question. The reason why we need to pay attention to these sorts of things is because in this industry, the wedding and the event space, a lot of us handle this conversation poorly, and that's where we start to drop the ball. Now, why did I remember that today? It's because of experience that I just had recently. So I use glasses, although I don't know much about glasses. I'm not really educated about glasses. I just know that I like plastic frames, I like colorful frames, and I like them photochrome. So beyond that, I know nothing else about frames. And my son uses glasses as well. And like most kids his age, he has completely trashed the last set of glasses that we got for him. Really beautiful frames with orange accents. But I underestimated how destructive kids can be. And so we have this wonderful pair of glasses now that just completely destroyed. So we're out shopping for a new pair of frames. Of course, we already have the lenses. So what I've been doing is going around pretty much asking people, how much does it cost to switch the frames? Yeah, so I call, and then of course people give a quote because I'm thinking I'll get the frame on my own. But then I noticed that my the place where we got the first frame, my son's first frame, so she's like my regular Dr. Kelechi. So I noticed that Dr. Kelechi took a different approach. When I asked how much, Dr. Kelechi didn't say 20,000 or 50,000. Dr. Kelechi just asked, "Have you got the frames?" And then I said, "No, I haven't got the frames, but I intend to do so by today." And then she said, "Why don't you come over and have a look? If you pick something from our stock, we will switch the frames for you for free." And then I said, "Oh, okay, that sounds good. Can I bring him in at so and so time?" She said, "Okay, sure, no problem. But if you can't make it today, I'm around tomorrow. I'm going to be here from 10 o'clock. I said, "Okay, thank you, Dr. Kelechi." And that's it. And that was the end of the conversation. So you see, that was a different approach. The other people just came straight out and said what the amount was. That'll be 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K, whatever. The bottom line is, when you say it, I have absolutely nothing to compare it to. And like I said, yes, I use glasses, but I am not educated at all on these sorts of matters. And so I'm just comparing numbers on a page without knowing how else to make the best decision. But Dr. Kelechi takes a different approach. She's like, "Have you got the frames?" Qualifying question. After that, she's able to throw in something to sweeten the deal, and she's going to be able to get me to come in to the store, or either that or engage in much more conversations through which is going to be able to get the chance to promote her services. So yeah, that's it pretty much. So the way she handled it just made me realize that I haven't addressed this pricing question directly on the podcast. At least I don't think I have anyway, because I think we're close to 300 episodes now. Okay, I think more like 280 or 290, and I'll have to check. So I don't think I've addressed it directly before, and so I figured, hey, Dr. Kelechi did it masterfully. So let me get on the podcast, share it with you guys, so that if you have not been aware of these practices in the past, or if you've been handling it poorly, you'll find out that there are different perspectives and perhaps use a better way of doing it. So you can either Dr. Kelechi it and do the clarifying question thing, or you can do it like I do, which is band and then invite for further conversation. But in my own opinion, don't do the price sheet thing. Please do not do the price sheet thing. It is good to have the price sheet on handy so that maybe after you guys are done with the conversation, the person still wants some written material, you can forward it. And also do not do the direct quote thing, because when you do the direct quote, the response most of the cases is going to be thank you, and then they cut the phone, and then that is it. So if they say thank you and cut the phone, tomorrow if you want to follow up, what are you going to say really? It's going to be a very awkward conversation on your part. Are you going to call up? What are you going to say? I called you yesterday, you asked for a quote, I gave you a quote. So how far are you interested? I mean, is that going to be the extent of the conversation? So, but these other approaches, at least you have, it gives you some leeway so you can sell yourself, and then it also makes follow-up easier. So with Dr. Kelechi's approach, for instance, a follow-up call tomorrow would now be, hey, Mr. Tavishima, how you doing? You said you were going to come at 2 p.m., but we didn't see you again now. So, how far? And then she's quiet, and then I respond. And anyway, let's just say there are much more options for action when you look at the other two. Price band, invite them for further conversations, and then just start with clarifying questions up front. So thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based sales consultant and event media professional, Tavishima Agide. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode. And also, I forgot to apologize for the noise in the background. That's because I'm waiting outside my son's school for school to be over, and so people are driving by, and that's where all the other conversations are coming from, and the horns in the background. And yes, you guessed it correctly. I'll pick up my son, and then we go and start looking for new glasses. The search continues. For those of you who have kids, pray for me that we're going to be able to find something that should be fairly indestructible and should be able to last for at least another year, so that we don't have to go frame shopping anytime soon. If you don't have kids, then these are some of the wonderful things that you have to look forward to. Not that your children are going to wear glasses, but it's always fun shopping for clothes, shoes, and what else? All the other good, fun stuff that we have to do when we have children. So you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you at the next recording.